Hey, welcome in, everybody. This is the Big Chief Show. It's your boy, Freddie D, alongside the one, the only, bit of Mike Babbo. It's the holiday season. Why? Because Mike's not even wearing... Look, Mike wears some sort of Raider paraphernalia every show, and even on the day... Because, look, we always do Chiefs pregame shows. Today, you could argue we're doing a Raiders pregame show in some form or fashion. And Mike going with, apparently he's channeling the Raider offense, going with the ugly sweater today, which pretty much, you could argue that everybody on the Raiders offense was wearing an ugly sweater on Sunday. And my boy Mike Lombardi was on with Pat McAfee today and asked the same question that I did when you and I talked about it today earlier, was that how on earth did Jimmy Garoppolo not get a turn on Sunday for as bad as that offense looked? And so he fully expects AOC not to necessarily have a short leash tonight, but if the offense continues to stay scoreless as it did on Sunday, why not roll out Jimmy G?
For the same reasons why AOC is not doing well. Because when Jimmy G was benched, he was missing wide open receivers, he was throwing interceptions, and he was holding on to the ball too long. And those are the exact same problems that AOC is plagued with. So you're just going to get an older, less mobile version of AOC, Aiden O'Connell. I mean, I've seen what I've seen. I've seen what I want to see out of Aiden O'Connell. Listen, did the offense stink up the joint? Absolutely. But we also need to point to the fact that late in the third quarter, Hunter Renfrow fumbled a reception at the 20-yard line of Minnesota. And they were driving the ball. And if he hadn't done that, and he's got this propensity to fumble the ball lately. And if he hadn't done that, maybe they kick a field goal. Hell, maybe they even score. And, as most Raider fans were just apoplectic, coming off a bye and throwing a fucking goose egg, which is unheard of in the NFL, considering that you can't touch the quarterback, you can't guard the wide receivers, you can't hit a running back in the head or whatever. To go scoreless is just unheard of, but that's what they did. They seem to do the impossible. But as bad as their offense looked, the defense was a sight to behold, really. I was really, really more – I didn't come away with that game as mad as I did or frustrated as I did, believe it or not, as the Dolphins loss and certainly as the Chiefs loss, because we had leads in those games. And we had a 14-0 lead in the Chiefs game. And also because they played completely conservative at home against the Chiefs. Going for field goals when on the other side of the field is, Patrick motherfucking Mahomes, like we talked about last week. And as a matter of fact, also they went for it on fourth down twice, and they converted both of them. Once, the second time was inside their 45-yard line, which was a nice change from the previous two games. But Fred, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. I mean, if AOC continues to stink up the joint, they're going to call for Jimmy G out there. And, hell, I even saw some morons calling for Brian Hoyer. No, that's not going to happen.
You definitely don't want Brian Hoyer.
No, you don't.
I would say, look, the only reason I'm big on the Jimmy G thing is because, yes, while I agree that he did not look great to start the season, and I'm not saying anything that you don't already know. The one thing you can say about Jimmy G is at least you know what he's capable of, right? Like, we do know what his ceiling is, and his ceiling is higher than what he showed with the Raiders. And I think with what you've got left, and look, we said it on this show last week when we talked about the Zach Wilson and the Texans game. And I said, look, Zach Wilson has nothing to lose. So I said on Sunday, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Wilson goes out and has a phenomenal game on Sunday, because, no matter what walk of life you're in, professionally, whatever, football, business, when you got nothing to lose, you're playing with house money. You're playing free. Yeah. And ask Texans fans how they feel after Sunday. after watching Zach Wilson, of all people, dice him up. So my point in all that is that, look, Jimmy G, look, he's still a professional. He's still got an ego. He's still got a little bit. I think he's still got some pride left.
Sure.
And oh, by the way, again, it's a long shot, but you guys haven't been mathematically eliminated yet. And for as much of a clusterfuck as that bubble is, it's people still looking on the outside. And Mike, you know as well as anybody, these next 4 weeks are anybody's game. I mean, we don't know. I mean, I was listening to NFL radio today, and they talked about it too. I mean, who thought after going through 4 quarterbacks, the Browns would be where they're at right now? All right. Who would have thought after giving up 70 points in week 3 that Denver would be a game out of winning the AFC West? Who would have thought that the team you guys just lost to, the Vikings, would still be within striking distance of a playoff game, right? So, it's one of those
the Jets and the Bears. The Bears have found new life as well.
The Bears have found new life, right? So, it's just one of those deals where I feel like if you're Antonio Pierce, okay, you need all the help you can get. And look, I don't know you and I aren't privy to the internal comings and goings of what's happening in Raider Nation right now. I do think that some of the sheen and some of the excitement that we welcomed Antonio Pierce with, he's going to be a Raider and the Raider way. And
the honeymoon's over, Fred. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the honeymoon's over. Now it's just like, okay, we have a chance to make the playoffs, and you're fucking it up.
Exactly. So it's like, my thing is, look, Jimmy G's been there before, and if Jimmy G wants to continue to play in the NFL, all right, and he gets one more shot this season, I would expect to see the best out of Jimmy G. Now, if he goes out there and funks it up like he did the first 4 games, and we might be able to say, kind of like what we've been saying about your boy Derek Carr, maybe that's it. Maybe as my boy Greg Cook used to say, he views every NFL career as a bottle full of marbles, and after every game, or a jar full of marbles, and after every game, you take a few marbles out. Well, guess what? You got a few marbles scraping the bottom of that jar. If you're Jimmy G and Derek Carr, would love to see how many are left. We'll get to the rest of the Raider game here in just a little bit.
Sure.
Obviously, that's the big Thursday night game. And, of course, it's a game where, you got 2 backup quarterbacks playing. And, of course, obviously the Chargers are in big trouble right now. We'll touch on them here in just a little bit. But before we do that, obviously we want to talk about the Chiefs game on Sunday. And, look, we're not going to get into anything that you guys haven't already heard to this point. Obviously, the big news coming out of Kansas City today was that Kadarius Toney finally spoke to the media. And he said today that he did not hear from the officials until Tuesday. And the officials told him on Tuesday that they gave him a warning. And Kadarius Toney says, I was never given a warning on Sunday throughout any course of the game that I was lining up offsides, because video has since come out in the last. Of course, Kansas City fans have gone to completely, nuclear on this, which I get to an extent. But apparently he lined up like that several times throughout the course of the night on Sunday and was never, and the officials never said a word to him. So look, it's one of those deals we're going to hear about. I mean, the Chiefs aren't going to be able to get rid of this story until Sunday, right? They play the Patriots on Sunday. For me, for me, the takeaway was less about the incident itself and Mahomes acting a fool afterwards, because he did. You and I both know that, and anybody watched it. And Mahomes came out on Monday and apologized, right? He came back on Monday, apologized to the kids. All right, got to apologize to the kids. And he apologized to Josh Allen because he said he didn't. And you know what? That's what a classy guy does, right? That's what a classy guy does. And I had, and you know me, I told you about this. I had enough. I was listening to your boy JT the Brick. I was tired of people clowning my boy Mahomes, because let's call it what it is. All right. Yes. Was Sunday night his best look? No, it wasn't. But let's not pretend like this guy hasn't been a model citizen and a model role model throughout his entire 7-year NFL. I mean, have we ever heard anything bad about Mahomes in 7 years?
No, it was just like you said, a pent-up frustration that just boiled up over basically a year and a half of him just trying to carry the weight of the offense and certainly just watching the receivers bounce passes off their fingertips, off their shoulder pads, and even wrong. What's that? Light up wrong. Right? Yeah, exactly. So, and then he didn't have Isaiah Pacheco. Travis Kelce's on the bad side of 34, and
he did look good Sunday.
He did look good Sunday. I mean, they did some zone coverage, and so he took advantage of it. He found the soft spot in the zone. It was vintage Travis Kelce. But yeah, the thing is that all of the frustration of the offensive struggles just finally just got to him, and it was just that one play, and especially considering how incredible that play was for Kelce to find Kadarius Toney, to have the presence of mind to look back, okay? Because a receiver like that, his instinct is to look forward towards the end zone. And for him to look back and find an open Kadarius Toney and throw it to him, not knowing if Kadarius Toney can do anything with the football, but he did, of course, he scampered into the end zone. And for that, just thrown in for a flag for an offensive offsides, which is rarely ever called. By the way, it was called once before in another game that week. I think it was called against Carolina in the Saints game, because I was watching that game. It was weird. But anyway, it was just a bad look for Fitting, because it's like, look, you did not lose that game because of that one play. I mean, the fumble by Rashee Rice was devastating, right?
It was, but they didn't. But thankfully, they didn't score. Or did they just kick a field goal? If I'm not mistaken,
I think they kicked a field goal, but I'm not sure. But I mean, they were driving. I mean, you never really know. But there were some other reasons why they lost that game, other than that last play and that offsides. So,
by the way, we're welcome
to
Mike? Hall of Fame nominee. That's going to be my new introduction for you until otherwise told differently. But welcome to the program, 14-year NFL veteran, Hall of Fame nominee, 93 and a half. This is open to anybody. I mean, this is.
Am I muted? Am I not talking?
You're loud and clear now, baby. You're loud and clear.
I think I'm muted. Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
I knew I said it.
Well, look, Lord knows if
we're on time delay.
If we've got any IT people that are watching the show right now, if you go ahead and send your information over to Henry Thomas and debug whatever he's got going on his laptop, because Lord knows what kind of Trojan and malware he's got going on over there.
I need no damn IT people. Telephone would have been great. I can use that just fine.
That's it. Well, either one works. Henry, let me ask you this, because Mike and I were talking about obviously just kind of putting a bow on the conversation from Sunday with the offsides penalty with the Chiefs. And, of course, obviously that's been the scuttlebutt all week. And now the NFL's talking about they may make changes to that rule moving forward. And I guess what they're talking about doing is they're just going to throw the play dead as kind of like a false start. They'll just call the play dead as soon as the offsides hits. As somebody who played 14 years in the National Football League, Henry, for a team like the Chiefs where one position group has been the key culprit week in, week out. One, how did you feel for Mahomes on Sunday when you saw him have that meltdown? And two, where are you at right now with the inconsistency of NFL officiating?
I felt bad for him. I saw the frustration of the whole year come out. Wasn't just the one call. I mean, the one call or the two calls for the past 2 weeks. It's a frustration of the whole season. I mean, you got Mutt and Jeff trying to catch balls. Half the time, most of them are dropping. You got one guy that's really catching the ball. That's Kelce, but start bracketing and tripling him. You can count on the other one dropping the ball. I felt for him, and I saw the frustration. And it's not just everybody who thinks it was just because of the calls. No, it's a combination of the entire season. It's what it is. And far as the rules,
no, go ahead.
I don't think I've ever and I played 14 years, 200 plus games started. I don't think I ever once heard a offsides call on offense. Procedure, that kind of stuff, blah, blah. I don't think I've ever seen offside call. And it not be blown dead as soon as it happens.
Okay, interesting. All right. So let me ask you this. When you and you know, again, you've played on some super talented teams. Have you ever had a situation where, and I guess I could argue that, yeah, you played on plenty of teams where the one position group that sucked was the quarterback. So, you know, not a lot you can do about that. You know, what Sean Salisbury is what he is.
Like Salisbury was not a quarterback one half a game for us. Don't even put Salisbury in that. But all the quarterbacks that weren't very good went other places to do well. Gannon, Johnson, you know, Wilson.
Right. So if you were, I mean, when you've got, okay, so quarterback room notwithstanding, right? Because it's a very interesting situation right now with the Chiefs. What do you do when you've got one, from a player's perspective, in the locker room, right? Like, it's got to be the worst kept secret. I mean, what is that conversation like day in, day out, where you've got a team in Kansas City where, look, you've got a Super Bowl caliber defense, you got a Super Bowl caliber O-line, we know you got a Super Bowl caliber quarterback and coach, but you got one group that continues to let you down and has its fingerprints, pun intended, on all 5 losses. I mean, what are you doing in that situation?
Well, in that situation, it becomes a matter of tough love. Every time somebody goes by any of those guys in that position, they're dropping stuff on the ground. Oh, you dropped that one too? How about this? You know, oh, couldn't catch that one either. It becomes a tough love. Players are tough on other players. Trust me. Trust me, I know. And it comes out of a place of it's out of a place of love, but they're also saying to you,
sending a message. They're sending a message is what they're doing.
Yeah.
You have to. They're sending a message, and it's hard and as cruel as it may sound. 90% of the time, people get the message.
So it's just a matter of whether guy. I mean, and look, I can't even imagine what must be being said, because again, the fact that you can point so poignantly in every single Chiefs loss. Like, it's one thing if you got a couple games where, okay, maybe the defense screwed the pooch one game, but no, literally every single game this year has come down to a Chiefs wide receiver doing something stupid. And Mike, you said something, you heard a stat the other day that blew my mind. And it blew my mind, but at the same time it didn't, because it makes all the sense in the world. And I know people have said, well, we only lost Juju Smith-Schuster, not like he made a big difference. Au contraire, mon frere, when you take a peel back, Mike, the numbers you threw out the other day makes a lot of sense why this offense is struggling without Juju.
101 targets, and I believe 86 receptions for over 1,000 yards.
That's a big deal, man.
That's a lot to replace, man, especially when – right. And you don't have a guy – you don't even have a guy who's breaking 500 yards yet, and it's week 15 in the NFL.
Well, you got one. I mean, you've only got one guy.
Well, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, you got no receivers, although
you got no receivers. That's what I mean. You get no receivers.
Well, we're getting close, though, actually, because I'll tell you who's actually finally – Rashee Rice, actually.
Rashee Rice. Yeah.
Rashee Rice has 663 yards, right? But think about it this way, okay? So,
but he's a rookie, and he's learning, and he's going to make mistakes like the fumble he did last week.
Well, no,
you can't rely. Right? I mean, you should have got out. You should have gone out and got D-Hop. You should have got out and got Jacoby Myers. You should have got somebody who can run routes, catch the ball, and not have it bounce off their shoulder pads and into the arms of a waiting defender.
I mean, to your point, Mike, I mean, look, Rashee Rice should not be the number one wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's not taking anything away from Rashee Rice because he's been absolute for what he's been.
No, you're putting too much on him.
Look. I think all things considered with this kid, and for as bad as I'll say this, for as disastrous as Sky Moore has been, okay, because he was Rashee Rice a year ago, okay, and Sky Moore was a bum last year, and he's an even bigger bum this year, okay. Rashee Rice this year so far, 59 catches, 663 yards. And has 75 targets on the season. I think those numbers. I would be
ecstatic if my number 3 wide receiver had those. Even number 2 wide receiver had those numbers at this point in time. Certainly, number 3, a rookie wide receiver, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah,
and he's hauled in 80% of his targets. I remember. I mean, nobody better than Jerry Rice. Look at his rookie numbers; they were abysmal. He was dropping passes left and right.
It's a testament to, and like I said, I'll give Brett Veach credit for this because, again, as bad as he's been with the wide receiver room over the course of his tenure here with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, look, he gave Sammy Watkins a big deal, although you could argue Sammy Watkins probably had the best 4 or 5 games of his life in 2019 en route to the Super Bowl. So, that's one of those deals where we kind of forget. Ink and Juju last year was a big deal because, as you alluded to, Mike, 100 targets, 80 catches, huge catches in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was the thing about Juju. While and look, Juju's not a flashy guy. I mean, let's call it what it is. He's just a big possession receiver. But you know what? There's something to be said for guys who can get open and find spaces. And right now, the Chiefs just don't have anybody like that. I'll ask you two this, and then we'll move on to tonight's game, and then we'll look ahead to the games on Saturday. I'll start with you, Henry. If you're Andy Reid. Look, this is the most scrutiny that this locker room has faced in the 5, or I guess year 6 of the Patrick Mahomes being the starter quarterback. The last 5 years have been pretty straightforward. The Chiefs have been juggernauts in the regular season going into the postseason. You finally got a little bit of struggle. You finally got a little bit of adversity. What's the message in this Chiefs locker room going into these last 4 weeks?
Well, the message is win or go home. You're going to be in the playoffs, but do you want to stumble into the playoffs or you want to roll into the playoffs? You want to be on a move going in on a momentum thing, or you want to just, okay, we won all these games, we're mathematically in, let's go see what we can do. The thing about it is, and you said it earlier, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, about the thing I think that's missing is that one guy motherfucking the receivers, and the enemy is gone. And you said yourself, and they're saying it in Washington, how he's very vocal and almost abusive towards the people, but he's getting results done. And a lot of times, and I've said this in the past, if you're a good football player and you're trying to get better and develop yourself, a lot of times you got to know what is being said to you, not how it's being said to you. You can't have this old, he called me an ass and said I wasn't keeping my pads down. Well, all you heard was the ass part. Guess what? You're sounding like an ass. Keep your damn pads down. Sometimes you got to peel back the adjectives to hear exactly what it's. I mean, I've been called a lot of stuff in my time. Never wanted to hit a coach. Well, once. But anyways, but you have to, as an adult and a professional player, sometimes you got to peel back the adjectives and really hear what they're saying. The adjectives is trying to just get you going, motivate you to do it. But a lot of times, these guys are getting coddled too much. Somebody's got to get motherfucked once, twice to get their motor running, in my opinion.
Well, and you know what? I don't know that the Chiefs have that guy, and I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to ask you this, Henry. And you and I have talked about this, and I know the three of us have talked about this ad nauseum, is the importance of the position coach, okay? So
right.
where are you at on? Because I look, I'm a big believer in guys that have been there and done it before. So when you look at the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Bills, okay, so pretty much all four, and I think I'm forgetting one other team in that group. All teams that teams that are in the conversation for number 1, 2, and Jacksonville as well. Okay, so all the top 4 or 5 seeds in the AFC. You know what the one glaring difference is from the Chiefs wide receiver coach and those other guys I mentioned? Every single one of those coaches that's not with the Chiefs, with those other teams, either played in the NFL 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And these guys weren't like, big name dudes, okay? But they spent 8 years in the NFL, which, as you know, Henry and Mike, is nothing to, ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
Okay? They've all either coached or played in the NFL or have coached for 20 plus years, like old boy in Jacksonville, right? Who, by the way, old boy from Beaumont, the wide receiver coach in Buffalo, who's from Beaumont, who's coached up 6 Pro Bowlers, okay, throughout the course of his career. Oh, by the way, the 2 guys he helped coach in college, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know if you guys have heard of those guys before, had a pretty decent NFL career. Okay?
They ring a bell, yeah.
Meanwhile, and you know who the Dolphins wide receiver coach is? You may have heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
Wes Welker. Okay?
That's
may or may not have heard of him before, right? By the way, the Ravens, who are having a resurgence from their wide receiver group, you know who their receiver coach is? The Chiefs wide receiver coach from last year. Okay? Meanwhile, and you guys, this is going to pain me to say this, okay? And you two, of all people, know how much it's going to pain me to say this. The Chiefs wide receiver coach played at the University of Kansas, okay, in 2011.
Yeah.
When we were really, really bad. Okay. And by the way, didn't log any time. Okay. So not only did you play for a shitty school, but it's not like you did shit when you played for the shitty school. Okay.
You couldn't break through a shitty lineup.
All right. I got a whole.
I mean, look, you mean to tell me that's like, at least if you're going to play for a shitty school, at least be the best receiver on the shitty school, okay? When you can't even crack the lineup for said shitty school, thank you, okay?
That says a lot that says a lot for the receiving crew. It says a ton for the receiving crew because all coaches that I've known that I've been associated with, when a position coach, when that position is called out for the week of playing poorly or whatever, they take it personal and they make sure they're at the reps. They'll find out. I don't see that because you're a mediocre guy on a shitty team. You know that makes you shitty. So it's like you said, he didn't contribute to the shitty team. He wasn't any good on the shitty team. And he's sitting around there going, okay, guys, what we have to do is he's not in there firing them up saying this crap ain't going to happen no more. I'll start cutting you. Those kind of threats work.
Here's what I want you guys to look at right here. Okay? You see that? You see that?
Yeah.
That's the Chiefs wide receivers coach right there.
I've seen his press conferences. They're vanilla.
Okay. This guy didn't, are we sure this isn't the Chiefs accountant? Are we sure this isn't the guy that stole $22 million from the fucking Jaguars over 4 years? Like, really? This is the Chiefs fucking wide receiver coach? I don't know that I would trust him to coach my high school team, for crying out loud. Okay? And look, I get it. Andy Reid, players coach, all this kind of stuff. Matt Nagy, do we really think that our boy Bieniemy wouldn't have said or done something by now? That's all. Look, we can as it. So, anywho, all right.
I'm not sure if he would have lasted. He would have let this go this long.
No way.
Really? I mean, right? He would have figured this out in August and say, you know what, we got a fucking problem. And he would have been marching in Brett Veach's office saying, you know what, we need a real wide receiver. We need a number one.
You what? You know what I miss? I miss Eric Bieniemy and Pat Mahomes yelling at each other, leaving the sideline at halftime. Like, we used to think to ourselves, oh, these guys got a problem. I'll tell you what, I would give anything to see those two arguing at halftime again versus what we're seeing with my man melting down at the end of games because wide receivers can't figure it out. Speaking of not being able to figure it out, we got a big game tonight. Battle of the backup quarterbacks, Aiden O'Connell and our boy
Henry. Is it really a big game? I mean, no.
For Easton Stick,
for
it
the
is.
Backup quarterbacks.
Right. Look, Easton Stick is letting. I'll tell you what.
For bitter Mike Babbo, it is because I got the under on 34.5. I'm hammering the under.
Ooh, that's a good one.
On 34.5. That's the top. That's it.
That's it. That's the under. That's the over under 34.5.
I mean, you're talking about a team that scored 0 points.
That may not be a bad bet right there.
That's what I'm telling you. And also I put money on Khalil Mack getting a half a sack. Because Henry, what happens when you lose your left tackle and your starting center? Khalil Mack's going to eat.
They're fighting the lineup over those guys. Yeah.
Damn straight.
Khalil Mack will eat.
He's like, fuck it. I ain't getting out. I ain't sitting out on third. You think I'm sitting out on 3rd and 13? Hell no.
Yeah. That's
what's that, Henry?
What's
your line? You have somebody pick you have a limo set
for him? Yes, you send the limo for him. You're like, hey, make sure this guy gets there. Make sure he gets there in comfort. Because
this might be the first time in NFL history where we see opposing defensive lines both make sure that the quarterbacks show up at the same time. Because you know what I'm saying? Because look, Aiden O'Connell's been a disaster. Easton Stick, we don't even. I mean, that doesn't even sound like a real.
You want
person.
those new guys in there?
Oh, you absolutely do, right?
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that Devontae Adams is questionable because he was ill. What's that?
No, I was just about to ask you about Devontae because I'm a huge fan of his because as crappy as that team is, he's always finding a spot to get open and get hit, and he makes sure he eats.
Henry, would you believe me if I told you he's got 867 yards of receiving this year? I was shocked. I didn't know it was that high. And as much as I love the guy, I think that he's such a team guy, and he's saying all the right things.
I thought
but I know he's frustrated. And certainly, he was frustrated at 3-0. Josh Jacobs getting injured with his knee doesn't help, and so he's highly questionable. I'll be surprised if he plays much at all. But let's talk about look, if they trade Devontae, it's only because he asked to be traded. They're not going to trade him for a first. First of all, they traded a first and a second to get him at the start of the 2021 season, I believe. No, it started the 2022 season.
Year 2 for him.
Right, 2022. This is his second year. So, and I think that he likes playing for Antonio Pierce. I think he really liked the fact that when they got rid of Josh McDumbass and sent him packing, because Antonio Pierce is a fiery guy. He's and for all of the reputation he gets as a player's coach, he will call players out if they're not doing their job too. I've seen that. I've seen it in his press conferences, and I know the type of person he is. Look, he's a linebacker, so he's built to yell and scream. But if I feel bad for Devontae, I want because he's a top 5 wide receiver for crying out loud, and they took a wheel off. I don't expect much tonight out of Aiden O'Connell because he holds on to the ball too long. He stays in the pocket too long. He overthrows receivers sometimes. He overthrew Devontae a couple of times against the Chiefs for sure. But without Josh Jacobs to kind of balance the offense, it's going to be incumbent on him to get the ball into Devontae Adams' hands. I really think that they're also not getting the ball to Michael Mayer's hands too, that big rookie tight end out of Notre Dame. That guy's a fucking beast, and he gets probably 3 targets a game. I mean, it's just stupid.
Yes.
And those 3 targets will happen like in one series in a row, and then they go away from them. And so, look, we're not going to expect much. This is going to be a shit show. This is going to be a fucking shit show. Brandon Staley's on his way out, for crying out loud. Fred and I have been talking about this, Henry. I've had him on my hot seat ever since like week 5 when we started doing it. I still think he should be gone. Keenan Allen's out too, right? Along with Justin Herbert, and I think Austin Eckler is going to play. But
no, Austin Eckler's playing.
This is going to be a mess, Henry. I mean, really, it's just, and I feel bad for Antonio Pierce because there was a lot of optimism when they finally got rid of the fucking Patriot way and Josh McDaniels and how stubborn he was, and I just wish that their offense was a lot more aggressive than they have been.
I think it's a good thing for Las Vegas to see something good, something new, anyways. But to open up the offense, that's what I would do today. If I was on either side of the ball, I would be throwing trick plays, fake kicks, everything. I mean, what do we got to lose? Let's see.
Exactly. What the fuck? I mean,
moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. What the fuck?
What do you think, though? You're down to. I mean, obviously, we're getting ready at week 15. You got a Raiders team that, like I said, Antonio Pierce is trying to get this job. But at the same time, too, you're also talking about, as Mike and I have alluded to time and time again, this is the biggest hire of Mark Davis's life, right? Like, he's got to get – I mean, first of all, Mark Davis is damn near pushing 70. So, if he does this right, this should be the last hire he ever makes, although I've got a hot take that I shared with Mike the other day, and I'll tell you here in just a second, Henry. Where is Antonio Pierce at in your mind as far as has he done enough from a coaching perspective, and for a guy that's never been a DC, pretty much been a position coach most of his life, do you see? I mean, do you think from what you know about head coaches, does he have enough to be a head coach and to be a successful head coach?
Well, based on what I've seen of his head coaching stuff, now he does have it. Even though, like you said, he's never been a defensive coordinator. But he has the ability to rally those guys and get them going. Seems like the guys enjoy playing for him. And it's like Mike said, he doesn't mind calling players out. A player's coach don't mind doing that because, look, I'm going to tell you when you're good. I'm going to tell you when you're bad. And when you're really bad, I'm going to sit you on the bench, period.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unless you're a receiver in Kansas City.
Henry, do you think he's got a shot? Henry, let's say, so they got 4 games left, right? And we're 5 and 8. We got 4 games left. Let's suppose.
Yeah.
All right. Let's suppose they win here. Big deal. Okay, whatever. They're going to play against Easton Stick. But let's suppose they play competitive. God forbid. Let's suppose they go 3-1 and they play competitive and they go balls out. Do you think that Antonio Pierce will get a fair shake to be the head coach of the Raiders in 2024?
No, not at all. It's the Texans. What, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Or it's going to be a revolving door of coaches. They're going to find one.
You think so?
But he's got a slim shot. But I think they're not going. I think they're going to go for somebody big.
Big.
All right, you ready for this? Because I told this. I told this
like
to Mike.
Fred said, he has no pedigree.
You ready for this, Henry? I told this to Mike the other day, and he didn't poo-poo it, but he wasn't crazy about it.
Poo-poo. No.
Okay. Bill Belichick.
You didn't poo-poo that? I'd poo-poo.
I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't think it was out of the realm of possibility, but I don't like it because I don't want I don't want the godfather of the Patriot way. I don't want a defensive minded coach. I don't. Our defense is not the problem right now. Shocking. I can't believe I'm saying that, but they're not.
I mean, it's like you said. Yeah. Well, how old is Belichick?
71.
He's 71.
71.
Yes.
You think he wants to move to Vegas? Why?
I could see it. Look, he left him and his girlfriend are done. He's a single man.
If he moves to Vegas, it ain't to be the coach. It's not going to be the
right
coach.
now, all I'm saying is this. This is why. All I'm saying is
he's got rings like this. He's got rings like this.
Look, I'm not disputing that.
Why does he want to go do it again?
I'm gonna tell you why. And again, look, do I think it's gonna happen? No, but I do think Las Vegas is more plausible than the Chargers. One, he's gonna have to find. I mean, I'll take it a step further. I'll take it one step further because everybody keeps talking about him leaving New England. What if Robert Kraft goes to Bill Belichick and says, "Look, we know he can still coach, right? Like we know, even though this team offensively has been a disaster the last 2 seasons, that he has not lost his fastball with that defense. All right, we can all agree on that. Like from a coaching perspective, that team is still solid defensively and is a good quarterback away, much like another team we've been talking about that's playing tonight, away from being respectable and being a playoff team. So I say either you go to Vegas and get a quarterback, which I don't think is that crazy, or if you're Robert Kraft, you say, look, we want you to win. We want you to get this record here. The last thing we want is this thing to end the way it has. What if we tell you, keep coaching, but we're going to bring in a GM? So all you have to do is coach and get back to being the Bill Belichick that you were when you first started. Because if we've learned anything, Bill Belichick, the coach, Hall of Fame, GOAT, one of the best of all time, no matter what sport you're talking about. Bill Belichick, the coach GM, you're Bill O'Brien. And if that doesn't wake him the fuck up, I don't know what will.
That's insulting. It's insulting.
That's the point.
Yeah,
that's my point. Bill, guess what, Bob? Because you know what I tell Bill? You know what I tell Bill Belichick? You're embarrassed. You're insulting everything you've done with what this team's looked like the last 3 years. That's insulting.
That's how he's done it. I mean, with the GM part of it, I mean.
But he didn't start being the GM
he's kept
until
all the money.
The second go round. Think about it. Those first Super Bowls, he wasn't the GM.
To that what?
That was Bill Polian, right?
No. There was Scott.
He was calling my ass.
Oh, Scott. Okay.
He was calling my ass. Hey, look.
But here's my point. Here's what I'm saying with that. Would you not agree though that it was a collaborative effort? Like he had look, whether it was the Scott Pioli's, whether it was the Nick Casarios, like they were drafting halfway decent. But when it all became Bill, when Bill had the final stamp of approval on everything, especially, I mean, look at the first round picks that the New England Patriots have had in the last 8 seasons. They don't have one starter. Think about this, gentlemen. What GM would still be, and you can name any sport, but let's just stick with football for the sake of this conversation. What GM would still be employed if your last 8 first-round picks were either A, not in the league, or B, were never a starter for you? You're out the door. You're out the motherfucking
It's
door.
not good. Yeah.
I mean, look, I got 3 words for you. N'Keal Harry. Okay? Do you guys even know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I do. He was a pick out of Arizona State.
Well, you know him.
Yeah, because my kid went there. He was like he was a draft pick. I think in
Arizona State, right?
Right.
But let's think about that.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's what before they drafted this kid from the Gonzalez kid, who I think was from Cal or something like that, who was having a tremendous season at corner before he hurt himself and was on the IR. Which, by the way, speaking of, I don't know, breaking news. Tyreek Hill. 2 different women came out today and have slapped him with a paternity suit, saying that their child, 2 different women, two kids born this year, and our boy Tyreek.
Wow.
The cheetah. Okay, he's not fast. He's not only fast on the field, gentlemen. He's also fast off the field. By the way, he just got married 4 months ago and has a baby with his wife, and now has allegedly 2 other kids.
Wow.
Henry, what advice would you give to any player in the locker room that was getting hit with 2 paternity suits at the same time?
I can't give them no damn advice. They done fucked up already.
It's too late.
I don't know.
Henry, have you ever heard of a situation where somebody knocked up?
You're a good dad. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you ever known anybody that has impregnated 2 women at the same time? Did Henry just plead the fifth?
Who's Travis Henry, right?
Yeah.
Oh, AP, Travis Henry, right?
Travis Henry. I'll tell you what.
Dude, he had like 9 kids from 7 women, right?
Community, yes. I want to say he's in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Marty.
Wow.
All right. Last thing. We got 3 games.
Anyway.
We got 3 games this weekend. We'll just touch on these real quick. You've got, and they're actually halfway decent games when you break it down. The first game is you got the Vikings and the Bengals, the all backup bowl. Second game is going to be the Steelers at the Colts. They're still fighting. I mean, and really all 6 of these, the interesting thing about all 6 of these teams that are playing is they're all fighting for playoff spots, although Detroit's already pretty much got theirs at 9-4, but they need a big win because they've looked like shit the last few weeks. Real quick, you got Minnesota at Cincinnati. Cincinnati looked incredible last week with your boy Browning at quarterback. Anything there that jumps off to either one of you?
For me, Henry, I think the fact that Josh Dobbs lost his seat when he laid out Justin Jefferson so soon after coming back from the hamstring injury, he exposed him. And it wasn't for a little while, but he got benched, and I think he lost his job when he put Justin Jefferson in that precarious position, because once he took that shot to the ribs, they thought they were cracked, and he actually had to go to the emergency room in Las Vegas. Now he's going to play this Saturday, but they're not going to let their horse, their franchise player, get exposed like that again. No way. And so they're going with Nick Mullins.
Exactly.
The 5th round. Yeah. Nick motherfucking Mullins.
He says he's playing, though. He says he's playing this week.
That's what I said. He is. He is playing. But my point is that they're not going to expose Justin Jefferson. He's going to play this Saturday. That's what he has said. But they're not going to risk him getting injured by another errant Joshua Dobbs pass. No way. Because he was doing that all afternoon Sunday to other wide receivers. He was just off all game. But that I saw.
It was Dobbs just a flash in the pan?
Well, he was what he was. Look, Henry Thomas.
He wasn't doing that great in Arizona,
Well, I wasn't convinced
I don't know.
when I saw him.
Well, no, look, there's a reason why. Look, I'll say this about the NFL, all right? The NFL's pretty good at identifying whether you're worth a fuck or not. How many guys and Henry, you can answer this better than me and Mike can. How many guys do you know or that you played with or saw were outside of maybe a Rich Gannon that that wasn't worth the fuck for 4, 5, 6 years, and then suddenly the light came on? I just feel like the NFL, that didn't happen. The NFL identifies pretty quick whether you can play or not.
Yeah, you don't get 4 years. You're gone after that third.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you either got it or you don't.
Yeah.
Look, Josh Dobbs is a nice story.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh Dobbs was a nice story. All right, and again, he had an incredible situation where he came in. But Mike, you and I talked about this, and Henry, you can tell you. Again, you can talk about this. Aren't most plays in the NFL very similar? But it's really just a matter of verbiage,
terminology.
So when a guy like a Josh Dobbs, who's been in the league for 7 years, there's probably not a lot of plays that he doesn't know. And oh, by the way, he's a fucking rocket scientist or some shit, right? So, I mean, do we really think it's that hard for him to pick up an NFL playbook?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, smarts is one thing, but you also have to have the talent.
Okay.
Yeah, it's football.
That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah, you got talent. I mean, it ain't rocket science. You want to go make a rocket, go ahead. Rockets ain't got shit to do with the gridiron. Nothing.
Unless your last name is Ismail.
There you go. Rocket Ismail.
He didn't last long in the NFL either.
Let me ask you this question. Where's Dobbs' eyebrows?
Well, he's got that alopecia. He's got that alopecia or whatever it is. Where
he's got alopecia.
He's got no body.
He's got no hair.
So unlike you and Mike,
I don't want nobody to slap me because I said something about the hair thing.
Oh, you guys?
We didn't choose to shave our head. They forced us to shave our head. We would have kept the hair, but we. I mean, the parts where we keep hair. See, listen, shining.
Yeah, God had a different plan. Said, look. Yeah. Well.
And look, I'm holding on. As Henry
God
Thomas
only made a few perfect heads. All the rest of them, he put hair on.
Put hair on it. That's right. God would not be so cool to give you no hair and an ugly head. So. All right. Well, look. So
hire them before they quit.
Yeah.
That's right.
By the way, who do you guys like this game? Bengals or Vikings?
Where is this game?
I'm gonna stay with the Skull guys.
Of course you are.
It's in
Cincinnati.
So
you like Minnesota?
Of course you are. I like the Bengals.
I'm going the Natty as well. Game 2, Pittsburgh at the Colts. Pittsburgh is saying that Mitch Trubisky will be on a short leash, and you got Mason Rudolph. The last time I remember Mason Rudolph in a game, he was getting clunked upside the head by Myles Garrett. So not that anybody cares.
Yes.
Certainly
because he deserved it. Because he deserved it.
Tell you what, at least the dude's still on a roster. I mean, I'm going with the Colts. That's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, Colts. I'm going into
it for sure. For me too.
Mitch Trubisky sucks. Yeah.
And then the last game of the night, which might go down as, which definitely should be the best game of the day, the Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. This is obviously a big game for both teams. You got a Detroit Lions team that's trying to get off the schneid and show that it is one of the best teams in the NFC, and you got arguably one of the hottest teams in all of football in the Denver Broncos. They're trying to fight for their playoff lives, and look, they're one game out of the AFC West, which, if you told me that after week 3, I said you were insane. I like Detroit to win this game, but I think it's going to be close.
Henry, what do you say?
I'm thinking Detroit's eating this game. It ain't going to be a close game. All them games that Denver's won in the last 4 or 5 weeks, garbage, trash, lucky.
Yeah.
Detroit's got to bounce back. They know it. Campbell's not going to let them go out like that. They're eating this week. It's not even going to be a close game. Russell's running for his life.
Okay.
Detroit.
Well, let me tell you. I thought the same thing before the Thanksgiving game against Green Bay, and look what happened. Jared Goff turned the fucking ball over 3 times. And they just got worked by a Green Bay team that was kind of suspect. I like the Broncos to upset.
Ooh,
I like the Broncos to upset.
Interesting.
You know what? It really depends upon who wins the turnover battle. I know that sounds pithy and no shit, but these teams really are dependent upon if they take care of the ball. Both of them. Fair. I mean, Detroit has lost 2 of the last 3 because they haven't taken care of the football. The one time that Denver, when they broke their 5-game winning streak in Houston, Russell Wilson threw 3 interceptions. If he takes care of the ball, they got a chance to win. Right, exactly. So if he takes care of the ball, I think Detroit, man for man, will win.
So wait, but you got Denver with the upset, though.
I got Denver with the upset, yes.
All right, so Henry and I are both with Detroit. You've got Denver winning this. which would go a huge way for Detroit. Excuse me, if Denver can pull this off, that goes a huge way for them as far as keeping the playoff hopes alive. Detroit, to me, man, look, I'm not gonna say it's a must win, but I think for the psyche of that football team, considering they've lost 2 out of their last 3, and this was a team that again, the way they started the season, the conversation about them being a possible Super Bowl team, and yet here we are in the last few weeks. You've got, from an NFC perspective, San Francisco's best team in football right now. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, no question.
And Dallas is playing the best football we've seen out of them in 2 or 3 years. And dare I say, it might be time, Henry Thomas, to put a little respect on Mike McCarthy's name.
2 or 3 weeks, you mean, right? Not this best we've seen them play in 2 or 3 weeks.
I would argue the best we've seen them play in 2 or 3 years. I would say the streak, the football they've played in the last 3 or 4 weeks has been some of the best football we've seen consistently out of the Cowboys. Now,
they finally beat somebody. They finally beat a very good team because the 2 previous wins were against a 7-6 Seattle team, and then the previous one before that, with a winning record, was the 1-0 Jets in week 2.
Yeah.
So we do need to give some respect to Dallas because they beat the what were they, 10-1 at the time? No, excuse me, 10-2. The Eagles were, and they boat raced them. But I'm kind of with Henry. Their schedule's been really easy. I think it's a very soft 9-3 record that they have. I think, if that's what that record is.
My only thing I'll say to that, the only thing I'll say to that is
10-3. Excuse me.
It's one of those deals where, look, they've beaten the teams that you've put in front of them. It's not like outside of the game against the 49ers early this year, the Cowboys, you could argue outside of the game that they looked terrible. They basically just walked through the Arizona game and then got boat raced by the 49ers. They've looked great every other game so far, which is what you can't say about somebody like the Miami Dolphins.
The first Philly game, they didn't look that good.
Yeah, but they were in position to win at the very end. I mean, they drove. I mean, look,
the question was, did they look that great? Did they look great? And the answer is
great. I mean, look, hey, you guys know as well as anybody. Sometimes you got to win ugly.
Yeah,
and that was a division matchup. Okay, that was a divisional matchup on Sunday Night Football, and they got to what the 1 yard line. And again, they screwed the pooch at the end, but they were there at the end. Okay, so all I'm saying is, from this Cowboy team, watch out because they got pieces on offense. And Mike McCarthy, I'll tell you what, for a guy that's gotten dragged through the mud the way that dude has, I'm kind of, it's kind of refreshing to see. I'll tell you what, that offense looks a whole hell of a lot better with Mike McCarthy calling plays than it does with Kellen Moore. I don't think you can disagree about that.
We'll find out. We'll find out this Sunday because they're traveling to Buffalo.
That's a big game.
We'll see what happens, and then they go to Miami, back to back.
Who do you
we'll
like
see what they're made of.
Okay, so since Henry will be golfing on Sunday morning while we do when we make our picks on Sunday between me and Bitter Mike, let's go ahead and since he's wearing cowboy blue right now, Henry Thomas. And by the way, didn't? By the way, if I'm not mistaken, weren't you one of the names that Dallas wanted in the now infamous Herschel Walker trade?
Oh, absolutely. I was just not on the list. I mean, Vikings were like, you can have those 12, not this one.
So Gil Brandt wanted Henry Thomas as part of that deal. And in one of the finer moments in Minnesota Viking history, they said 97's off limits.
Yeah, no, we're not. Yeah, we're going to keep it.
You guys can have all our picks. You can have all of our draft picks.
Yeah, you can have these 12 guys on the team and all our picks. Yes, but not 97. No. 97. Not going that way.
I would ask you how that trade ended up and how that turned out for both teams, but we don't have enough time. Anywho, who do you like in the Bills-Cowboys game Sunday night?
This is not cowboy blue. This is Buffalo.
Oh!
I'm going.
But
I'm
are they
going
lined
with
up
the
on
Buffalo.
sides? That's the real question. That's the real question.
Yes,
All right, so
here we go, Buffalo.
All right, so you like Buffalo on Sunday?
Buffalo's struggling. Yeah, they're
All right.
struggling to find their identity again, and they're pounding people's head. I think they come out, and plus they're going to be in Buffalo. That's not a nice place to play late in the season, you know.
No,
so
it's not.
It's going to be
not in December. It's not
a little in Buffalo's favor. Yes.
Buffalo over. You like Buffalo over Dallas? Okay. We and of course Henry or Mike. I'll give our picks. Let's see, real quick. Give me one other. I'm going to go with one other Sunday game just for shits and giggles since we got you here, Henry Thomas.
Pick one.
For Week 15. When I look at the games this weekend, it's not a great week of games, to be honest with you. It's really, really not. Ravens, Jaguars. Who do you like?
Ravens.
Ooh, okay.
No question, Ravens.
Not even a question.
You,
and then last but certainly not
my
least,
theory. 49ers and the Ravens are going to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh, because of the colors?
Because of the colors. The NFL got it right the last 3 years in a row. Huh?
Texans or Titans?
Ooh, well.
And that game's
Texans
in Tennessee, by the way.
Yeah, they're trying really hard, but I think Derrick Henry runs over a couple people and Titans pull this one off.
I think you're right because right now CJ is still in the concussion protocol and has not practiced all week. And it looks like your boy, everybody's favorite quarterback, especially Henry Thomas's favorite quarterback, Davis Mills, will be the starter on Sunday. And then last but certainly not least, Henry Thomas, we'll get you out of here with this. The Jets, Jets at Miami.
As bad as the Jets are, they're still entertaining to watch just because of their defense. I mean,
yeah,
it's great, but I'm thinking that Miami's going to come back with their own defense of their own. Their defense has been struggling. I don't know why this year because I put in a pretty good hand on helping, but the defense is a little off. And is Tyreek back? Is he? I thought he got nicked up.
Well, I guess look, depending upon what the state of Florida says.
Yes, exactly.
Depends how many women come.
It's a civil case. I mean, right? I mean, it's just. I mean, so
we're gonna need a squab for that. Yes, but I think Miami's gonna come out on top on this one because they got to.
All right, Miami it is.
Just to keep pace with the rest of the AFC.
They got to.
They got to win this game.
I love it. All right, gentlemen. That's going to do it. Mike, last parting shot from you. Give us your final thoughts and your prediction for the big game tonight.
Wow.
I mean, don't act too excited about it. Come on.
Come on. Parting shots. I mean, we're just going to see, a beat up, demoralized Chargers team against a Raiders team that, is at a crossroads for the umpteenth time. Mark Davis's, his interview of Antonio Pierce continues. I just want like Henry said, I want the offense to say, what the fuck? Let's just open up the playbook and let's just get crazy here. I hope Max Crosby plays, and I hope he just wreaks some havoc against, the kid Easton Stick. I hope Tyree Wilson continues his progression. He actually had 4 tackles and a sack last week. So Raiders 17-10. I don't know. Maybe they get a pick 6 or something,
Mike, I need more energy out of you, bro. I need more.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm trying. I'm really fucking trying, but I mean,
I'm giving you on a Chiefs show. I'm giving you the last word in a fucking ugly Christmas sweater. I need the juice, man. I need the juice.
I know, but I'm trying to. But I mean, for the last 3 weeks,
and especially Shepherd, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You're trying real hard to be the shepherd.
But you know what? All I see is the tyranny right now.
Yeah. That's right.
Look, Raiders 17-10. I want Antonio Pierce to get this job. I want him to grab it by the balls and go for it because I love the guy. I love his passing. Huh? It starts tonight. It has to start tonight because guess what? I mean, I think next week they play the Chiefs again, right? No, that's Christmas.
I was going to say, I think we're a week away from that. I'll just say this. If this offense doesn't – we thought Antonio might work his way back up the mountaintop tonight, but I'll tell you what. I'm going with the Raiders tonight, and I'm doing it because of my boy Babbo, but I'm doing it too because, look, you better put some motherfucking points on the board if you're Antonio Pierce.
Here's the thing, guys. So the first game for Antonio Pierce, they opened up the playbook granted it was against the Giants, but that offense was on all cylinders, and it was fun to watch. It was fucking fun to watch between Michael Mayer and Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers going bananas, and of course some Josh Jacobs mixed in. It was great. I mean, it was electric, and I want them to go back to that. So it's there. It's available. It's there. I just want to. What happened the last 4 weeks? I don't know, but I want to see it again. How's that?
Fair enough.
There you go. That's the pressure. That's the energy we're looking for.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about right there. That's what we're talking about right there.
Don't fucking embarrass me on national TV. How's that? Don't embarrass me on national TV.
There you go.
I guess we'll see in 3 hours. 3 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show tonight. Be sure to follow at Henry Thomas NFL, at The Bitter Mike, at The Freddie D. Be sure to subscribe to the Chief Studios. Go follow my boy Tab at eSIM Studios as well. For Henry Thomas, Bitter Mike, and everybody from H-Town, Kansas City, to the Fofo, San Antonio, and all points in between. Thank you guys. Good night. God bless.
Peace.
Boom.